We're live. Hello, people of Earth. People of the Earth, can you hear me? In your magical sound. You know, there's not enough Billy Thorpe in people's lives these days. That's what I think.
I don't remember Billy Thorpe.
Children of the Sun.
No.
Familiarize yourself. So, all right. What are the odds? Give me your over under on me needing a new prescription when I go to the eye doctor at 4 o'clock.
You're going to need a new prescription.
What's your over under there?
Well, I don't do it. What's an over under? You need to. I don't
know.
do
Ask Justin to explain.
To the everlasting frustration, whether a thing will happen or not is not an over under.
Well, no, what's okay?
The over under would be how much am I going to spend on a new prescription?
I guess what you're absolutely right. You're absolutely right. My over under is I think I was 20-30 last time.
Oh, gotcha.
So what's the over under on the change? I guess there's not much under because it's probably not going to get better. So that's a problem.
So you would set it as getting worse.
Yeah.
And then you would determine, but I don't know enough about eyes.
Yeah.
I'm not good enough on the prescription lensing thing.
Are you going farsighted?
These glasses are half nothing. Up top, they're just glass. There's no prescription, and the bottom half is for reading.
You're going bifocal territory.
They're progressive.
Yeah,
that's just a polite way of saying I don't have the same glasses.
Left of my of glasses.
Yeah. it's just a polite way of saying I don't have the librarian glasses when they look up. Remember,
it just became easier when reading and driving and stuff. Like if before I had just reading glasses, right? I'd only put them on when I was reading, but then if I was driving and I needed to read the map, right, on the phone, I couldn't read it. So I got these. Oh man, what something happened to my pregame routine here.
What's weird is that over time, because I have severe myopia, that as you get older, you tend to get farsighted. So it's kind of evening out. It's slightly whittling away. So they had to give me slightly less strong glasses. But sometimes when I read, it's just easier for me to. It's not like I can't focus near.
Yeah.
It's just that sometimes it's just easier if I take off my glasses.
My distance sight was 2015.
Oh wow.
My reading sight was 2030. Or however they do that.
Why can't they just
major changes coming to Hearthstone?
Yeah, I saw that Sylvanas in the wild.
Sylvanas, Ragnaros,
and Ragnaros, right.
And what's the other one there?
I don't play anymore.
Azure Drake, all going to wild.
Wow, Sylvanas, that's the one that caught my eye because, like I said, I don't play anymore, but I loved using Sylvanas when I did play.
Sylvanas is a really, really, really big card. I would kind of assume that this is that they want to just have more wiggle room to do things like that, and Sylvanas is just kind of the best version of that card. Azure Drake, though. I think Azure Drake might be in.
Azure Drake's another one. It's like the end of my era. They're like, oh, those cards you know how to use, Tom? Yeah. Those won't be.
No, but now there's new exciting cards.
Yes, of course.
Everyone will be meeting for the first time, and we'll all say, ooh, you're so...
Yes, but look at Silveros and Ragna Drake.
And Ragna. They auto-conceal.
It was when they went to Wild, when they first introduced Wild, is when I kind of fell off playing because I would go in and I'm like, oh, I got to redo all my decks, and it was just too much for me to surmount.
I mean, you could always just play Wild.
I could have. I totally could have. I
think that they had a messaging problem there where they were like, no, there's Wild, but then they didn't really do anything with Wild, and they didn't make a big deal about Wild. And
yeah, and honestly, I wanted to play ranked. I wanted to get good. So this is not me saying
Well,
they
there
did
is-
anything
there is a
wrong. I'm
ladder.
just explaining my reaction. My personal emotional reaction was, oh, I really want to do that, but it's so complicated to do that. I don't have time. I'll do it later. And then I just kept putting it off and never getting back.
But that's the problem, is that they have a wild ladder and they have wild rankings, and you can get great at
Did they
wild-
have the wild ladder at the beginning?
very beginning.
Oh, well. Yeah, so maybe there's a little messaging
But
problem.
I think that they definitely had a messaging problem.
Yeah. Well, or even if I knew that, I don't know if it would have changed me or not, because I would have still looked at the other ranked as like, well, that's the real ranked.
And that was because that's at the core of their problem, is
Yeah.
that standard is like, well, standard is strange.
I mean, standards were, that's where I'm going to play the real people.
When you say the meta, you are talking about the
Sta-
standard meta and not the wild meta.
Totally. Well, I'm going to try to play Zelda. This is where I'm at in video gaming these days.
The breath of
Breath of the wild ranked.
The breath of certs.
the breath of
The
Dragon.
minty fresh breath of Zelda.
You know, that would be a good tie-in with like a Tic Tac campaign. Special editions.
like wild mint Tic Tacs.
Yeah,
The
or
breath
Slice
of the
Savers or
wild.
something. You think I'm kidding, but I'm telling you, there's something there.
I know you're.
I don't think you're kidding.
I'm taking you 100% seriously, Roger.
Altoid. It could be Altoid tins with limited edition, like Zelda.
Oh yeah.
Or
And the
Link.
Altoid tins could have a Raspberry Pi in them that lets you play the original Legend of Zelda on emulation.
Ooh, see, now you think it.
Now you're cooking with gas.
Betcha.
Instead of the
Doggy.
charcoal.
Now you're cooking with solid fuels.
It's too dangerous to go alone. Take this.
Take this. All right, we're about ready. You guys good?
Yeah, man.
Hiding.
We got a hell of a little lineup here for us.
Let's do it. Here we go. Daily Tech News Show is powered by you, the audience. To find out more, head to dailytechnewsshow.com/support. This is the Daily Tech News for Thursday, February 16th, 2017. I'm Tom Merritt. Justin Robert Young alongside for a big day of news, Justin.
Huge day of news. And all the heavy hitters came out. Facebook, Snapchat, Apple, Google. Tom, I mean, I feel like we should just
Cameroon.
Cameroon is in the building.
Don't undersell Cameroon.
United Nations is making an appearance.
Yeah.
We got let's just get right into it.
Yeah, let's go with it. Apple will hold its 2017 Worldwide Developers Conference on June 5th through the 9th, but they're moving it to San Jose, moving it back to San Jose, actually, at the McHenry Convention Center. WWDC has been in San Francisco the past couple of years, if you didn't know that, several years, really. Registration for tickets will begin March 27th, and Apple says it will live stream all the sessions.
Meanwhile, Time Warner shareholders voted Wednesday to approve a merger agreement with AT&T. The deal must still be approved by U.S. regulators.
Checking a box off the list there on the way to that merger happening or not. And the Seoul Central District Court, we just learned this right before we started the show, approved a warrant for the arrest of Samsung head J.Y. Lee on bribery charges for an alleged role in a corruption scandal involving suspended President Park Geun-hye. This is something they had tried once before and been denied, so they went and got more evidence, came back, and were successful. The court rejected a similar request for Samsung president Park Sung-jin, who's also the head of the Korean Equestrian Association, and the whole thing has to do with horses.
Horse competitions. Tom, dressage takes down the Samsung president. If you are not up on this story, do yourself a favor and get a reading.
Let's move on to some more top stories. Snap Inc. has set a value of $16.2 to $18.5 billion for its upcoming stock IPO. Shares will be priced between $14 and $16. They are expecting that to bring them in around $3.2 billion in capital. It's a good chunk of change for them. And in fact, it'll be the highest valued U.S. stock IPO since Alibaba went public in the U.S. on $25 billion in 2014.
However, this did come down just a little bit, right, from where they were initially trying to push it before the roadshow.
Yeah, in fact, it feels like Snap is being very conservative here and saying we just want to make sure we sell all of these and we get the nice bounce that stays bounced. Unlike if you remember Twitter pushing it kind of to the higher end, and then you always get a little bit of a bounce, but then it dropped down, and it took a long time for it to finally get back above the IPO price. There were some fears around Facebook when they went IPO several years back as well. So I don't know if this is a new strategy or just a Snap approach.
It is so funny that in a more mature world for tech startups and therefore the IPOs that they are inevitably on the march toward, that something that is as far along, in that chain as Snapchat, which we of course view to be, silly or frivolous or obviously toward a youth market because that's where their growth is also the more responsible and learned, like,
right?
Like looking at all the corpses of IPOs and gigantic failures upon going public before them. It's like, no, you want to know what? You're right. Goldman Sachs, let's lower our valuation so we can be more fiscally responsible in the quarter.
Let's make sure that our valuation doesn't disappear in 10 seconds.
Yeah. Now, meanwhile, investors, please raise your eyebrows if you'd like this dog graphic to put a big tongue in your lens.
And of course, you may not use Snapchat, or you may, but enough people are using it and they're making enough money and their momentum is going the right way that a lot of folks are looking at Snapchat as something to emulate.
Well, I mean, also Instagram. Tinder acquired Wheel, a collaborative video messaging app that operates like Snapchat's live stories. Wheel collects videos around themes like holidays or trips. Last summer, a theme around Arnold Schwarzenegger impersonations got a post from Schwarzenegger himself. Wheel co-founder Paul Barakadis did not give any details on how Tinder might use Wheel other than to say, bringing people together to create.
Let me just make the joke now. He meant procreate because it's Tinder. Okay, fine. Got that out of the way. Now,
don't put too much pressure. It's Tinder.
Look, Wheel does something that's similar to Snapchat but different, right? Tinder wants to make sure that they stay relevant, that they stay up to date. So I don't look at this as Tinder as trying to be Snapchat, but Tinder looking at, hey, what Snapchat's doing is working for a lot of people. There's some cool way for folks to get together in this way and contribute to stories and meet virtually each other. Let's acquire that talent and take the 4 of those employees and put them on our staff.
Tinder did a fantastic job of understanding that the exact target demographic that wants a dating site, let alone something maybe even, dare I say, scandalously a little bit more casual than dating, also live on their phones and may not even have a computer and certainly don't want to go through a 30-page survey to find the love of their life. They're literally just looking for somebody right now. And that is the market that they carved out. In the intervening 5 years, since they've completely kind of dominated that space, now everybody's trying to be Tinder. Now all the match advertisements are a little bit more mobile friendly, a little bit more, hey, just find somebody, as opposed to necessarily meeting your soulmate that's going to bear your children. So what Tinder needs to do is not only guard against everybody that's behind them in that dating space, but also the fact that at some point, Tinder might lose a little bit of cachet in the same way that Plenty of Fish did, in the same way that Match did. These things tend to be a little cyclical, and they don't want a site like Snap or an app like Snapchat being the de facto place where you would meet new people and hook up with them.
Hey, it takes the pressure off Snapchat too. You don't have to worry that that's becoming the meat market over there. That's Tinder's job.
It also gives them a little bit of an in-house resource, I think, for people to communicate, because if they use this as effectively very easy to take and send video messages, now you don't have to go to another app to communicate with people. And it gives a little bit more social proof, aside from just a random Tinder image, to be like, hey, I'm down here at the bar, come meet me.
Yeah, yeah.
Now it's a little bit more friendly.
Google Home just added the ability to order items like toilet paper and shampoo from Google Express partners just by talking to your Google Home. Google Express's partners vary by region, but around the U.S., they include Costco, Whole Foods, Bed Bath & Beyond, Fry's. You can get some computers. Guitar Center. Hey, Google Home, give me a guitar. PetSmart, Walgreens. Delivery times range depending on the items and the area, from same-day delivery in some cases on up to 3 days. And you can pay a yearly membership, or you can decide to just pay a fee per delivery if you don't use it that often. Google is waiving all the fees until the end of April 2017 for folks who shop using their Google Home. And the way you use it is set up a payment method in your Google Home account and then just say the words and order me some toilet paper.
You said the words, John. Tom, have you ever ordered anything off any of these AI, these voice AI things?
I did when Amazon Echo first came along. I ordered some dog treats, I think, is what I ordered.
How did you like that experience?
It worked fine. Maybe I am just too paranoid. Well, no, I am definitely too paranoid. But maybe that because I'm too paranoid, I didn't like it enough. Because I just felt like I then had to go to Amazon.com and verify that it was there and that it was the right item. I suppose if I got used to it, I wouldn't have to do that every time. But I don't prefer to shop that way. And the kinds of things they're always talking about. Amazon did this too, but Google Home is talking about, oh, your daily items, your toothpaste, your mouthwash. I just buy those at the store still. I am old-fashioned that way.
Well, I mean, listen, I'm old-fashioned too. I just order it off my phone. So I think that there is a nerve-wracking problem with this kind of ordering. And I think that the more you add different layers to it, the less people are going to use it. I think Amazon is in a very unique position because Amazon is where you get everything. So you can order fishing line and toothpaste, and you are used to them being able to send it to you at a low price, at a small shipping charge, or free.
And it knows your favorite brand and which one all that stuff. Yeah, you kind of have to get in the groove.
I think this is a bit of catch up by Google Home, but I, in general, find this entire space to be a little, I think you said it perfect, anxiety inducing.
Yeah, it did not relax me, and I never did it again.
You're like, oh, what a convenient way to spur anxiety on whether I screw something up.
Totally.
Over the next few weeks in Canada and the U.S., Facebook will roll out the ability for page admins to post jobs on Facebook and received applications through Facebook Messenger. Applications can pull personal and work details from users' Facebook accounts. Users who like a job opening will have similar job postings appear in their Facebook newsfeed. Posts will expire after 30 days.
We saw you liked product managers, so here's more product manager positions. That's going to be annoying. I can tell you that right now. However, big shot across Microsoft's LinkedIn bow here.
Yeah.
It's certainly far from doing what LinkedIn does, but it is Facebook taking a bite out of that market, or at least trying to.
You know, they do share a lot of common DNA with LinkedIn. LinkedIn, of course, is the professional resume social network that everybody kind of feels obligated to be a part of. Facebook is obviously a little bit more of a soft social interaction. And yet, how many times have we all found an old friend or somebody that we met at the bar, and the first thing we do is click their about to see where they work? There is a lot of that kind of goes into how we interact with Facebook. But this is a classic. Let's just throw these functionalities against the wall and see if they stick. According to Facebook, this came out of surveys from pages and popular pages that ranked the ability to ask to solicit job applications as a very high priority for them. And to be honest, I think it might work.
The more I think about it as we're talking about it, the more I realize that it's not an either or. If I'm a hiring manager and I want to find somebody, if I think I'm more likely to see the kind of people I want to hire on LinkedIn, then that's where I'm going to post. That's where I'm going to look. However, you get different people if you post that job opportunity on Facebook. And so if you're like, I'm not getting the right applications on LinkedIn, maybe the kind of person I'm looking for is over on Facebook. And that's the way it should work. We shouldn't have just one social network. We should have multiple services that specialize in different areas. And so this may not even be trying so much to take a bite out of LinkedIn, as I was saying earlier, but trying to provide a supplementary source, or it may end up providing a supplementary source that says, hey, you can't reach these people on LinkedIn because that feels too professional for them, or whatever. But there's people on Facebook that you would be able to hire and find. So maybe post there, maybe post in both places.
Or there's just more people that check their Facebook. Ultimately, this is a two-stage problem for Facebook. Number one, they have to provide a service for which the employers want to be a part of, but it will succeed or fail based on the kind of candidates that these people wind up hiring. If it's, in 6 months or a year, it's like, oh, geez, well, of course, Betsy failed. She's another Facebook hire. Then this will not be a success. If it's the opposite and Betsy is the employee of the year, then man, Facebook's got something going on.
Beatmaster says, can't wait for drunk applying instances. How about drunk hiring instances over Messenger? You're hired. You sound great. IBM will use its Watson Internet of Things platform with Visa's token technology to allow Internet of Things devices to act as a point of sale. So this is not you. This is not Google Home shopping for you. This is devices being allowed to purchase things for companies. If you need an example, how about an office coffee maker that is constantly resupplied and charges the company per cup? So it's just constantly resupplied by the 8 o'clock bean people or whoever's servicing it, and it just can charge the company as it's used. A little more esoteric, but a device in a supply chain could allocate purchases to the correct cost center within a company. So it's actually not charging anyone outside of the company. It's just saying as the things move through, oh, that should be charged to the facilities, and that should be charged to the creative division, et cetera, et cetera. A few other things that Watson is going to be used for. French Railway SNCF is implementing Watson to improve railway performance. And Ricoh is building cognitive whiteboards that provide voice technology, note-taking ability, some real-time translation, and analytics.
This is a fascinating idea on paper to see this. We will obviously see where the rubber meets the road when it comes to the technology working all the time, because, this is as good as it will perform. But, as far as Internet of Things breakthroughs go, which we have, covered certainly over the last 3 or 4 years, this seems pretty rad.
I feel like this, to me, points out that Internet of Things is going a little bit the way 3D printers go. So 3D printers was, I'll be able to print things at home. That part has not yet worked out. I still think it may, but it has not. But 3D printers are very successful in the enterprise and in industrial applications. I feel like Internet of Things is going to be more successful in people's houses. We all are using thermostats and door locks and light bulbs to a certain extent. That's, it's more successful than 3D printers in that way. But where Internet of Things is really booming is in the enterprise. Is like, this is where we can really sell a lot of these units and get a lot of innovation. And this points to that for me, where it's not worrying about those of us who just, want to have our refrigerator or reorder things from Amazon. It's saying, hey, in an industrial supply chain, you could really speed up efficiency and bring down costs if you have these sorts of things managing stuff.
Yeah. And for a lot of these companies, especially the ones that are plugged into enterprise level clients, if you can sell a whole new set of whatevers to each company, because now you'll save money in the long run with these Internet of Things technologies, and that is something that they are very interested in.
Beef in our chat room has got our get rich quick scheme. He says, adds himself as a coffee machine to multiple business networks. Smart move. And then JT0 says, I keep hearing about Watson being thrown at things, but I have yet to encounter anyone who has an opinion about working with it. It's because it's generally working on the back end. You're not working with Watson. You're working with things that have been empowered by Watson. And so far, those things, have worked pretty well.
Yeah, when I was at the Collision conference, Watson and AIs in general were definitely a gigantic topic. And a lot of what the people from IBM will tell you is, hey, give us your problem and we'll let you know how Watson just makes it easier, and then suggest some new ways that we can make your product a little bit more robust. So you're generally not, unless they want to trumpet it because they think it's going to bring a little cachet, you're not going to see the like big glowing thing that you see doing the commercials that, when football's on or anything. United Nations Special Reporter David Kay has called on the government of Cameroon to restore internet service to northwest and southwest regions of the countries. Buea, capital of Cameroon's southwest region, is sometimes called Silicon Mountain for its concentration of successful tech startups. Internet service has been disabled in the region since January 17th to combat protests by English-speaking minorities against the French-speaking central government.
Yeah, so there's a lot going on here, and we won't get into the reasons for the protests so much as the fact that this is a place that has been touted as one of the growth areas in Africa for startups. BBC did a great story back in April of last year about there have been more than 50 successful startups come out of there in the past year, and it's just been gutted by this. And on top of that, Justin, when we were talking about it before the show, you pointed out that it's not just about the businesses that are being undercut here, which is bad for Cameroon in general, but also about the idea of, hey, if is internet access a human right yet? Is it like power and water yet?
Well, and you bring up something very, very interesting. Beyond the idea that the internet is something that we rely on more and more as a populace, part of the reason why, if let's say an autocratic government was shutting off power, you would want to make sure that, the factories still ran, or that the methods of transportation were not impeded, because what you want to do is quell dissent,
right?
Not the economy, for which creates the tariffs that keeps the government, fat with cash.
Yeah, because the idea here is there are a couple of protest organizations in particular that Cameroon declared illegal and wanted to stop from organizing. So they shut off the internet as part of that.
And now the internet has intertwined itself so closely with the economy that you can't just look at it as like shutting down a pirate radio station or something. This is, in fact, radio. Radio is a great example that it's not radio. It's not television. You can't just shut that off and say, well, now you guys will lose your way of speaking to a mass audience. It's everything. It is the way that business gets done. And that's on top of the fact that it's the way that we all interact with each other. So this is a fascinating story to me.
Yeah, and we touched upon previously, and it may have been in Daily Tech Headlines, the winner of the Google coding contest this year was from Buea and had to travel to the capital, the French-speaking capital, to get internet in order to let Google know, yes, I have heard that I won, and I would like to accept the award and travel to Mountain View to take my award and get the benefits of it, which involve being able to like work at Google a little bit and meet some people.
Maybe get some of that internet. Take back.
Yeah, get some of the internet. Right, exactly. Hey, folks, get all the tech headlines each day. In less than 10 minutes, you can subscribe to dailytechheadlines.com, the perfect complement to the Daily Tech News Show. Okay, folks, Gartner had its latest worldwide smartphone numbers show Apple take the top spot away from Samsung, still with 17.9%. This isn't a huge chunk of the world smartphone market, but Apple is now on top on planet Earth. Samsung number 2, likely because of problems with the Note 7. Huawei comes in at number 3, followed by Oppo, and then BBK. Gartner lists BBK as its own entity. BBK actually makes some Oppo headsets, but also makes Vivo and OnePlus brands. On the operating system side, we've pretty much hit 2 operating system. Android has 80.7% of the market share, iOS 17.7%. That's 97.7% of the world market right there. So BlackBerry is now rounding to 0%. That's poor little out for that. And Windows is, I think, at 1.1%, which is, it's not its lowest point, to be honest. But
yeah, hey, I'll tell you what. I feel like it's like that scene in Arrested Development where they get the blue stock gets upgraded to a don't buy, and everybody's really excited.
So with Apple technically riding high, but also seeing its market share and its sales numbers slowing, right? The velocity is slowing. It's not growing as fast as it used to.
Yeah.
A lot of eyes are turned to the next iPhone. This is going to be the 10th anniversary edition, and it's going to be a big change. And so we've been paying attention to some of the leaks. I call these leaks not rumors because they come from sources who generally have cultivated reliable sources that tell them what's happening within Apple. Last week, KGI securities analyst Ming-Chi Kuo reported that Apple will launch 3 new iPhones this year with wireless charging and OLED displays. Kuo also reported an additional graphite sheet would be needed for better thermal control. 9 to 5 Mac last week noticed that Apple is listed as a member of the Wireless Power Consortium, so that bolsters these claims. Bloomberg was reporting a similar claim about the wireless part. And then Kuo added more details to his forecast for the next iPhone in a letter to investors obtained by Apple Insider. Kuo says his sources indicate the phone will not have a physical home button or Touch ID sensor, but the bottom part of the screen will be reserved as a function area for virtual buttons, and there will be some kind of new biorecognition technology that will take over device security, and there were no details on that. Meanwhile, Bloomberg's Mark Gurman says his sources indicate Apple's testing a new 4K capable Apple TV box that may come out later this year. So I want to focus on the iPhone for once. On this show anyway, we haven't really speculated on new iPhones in a long time. We've got OLED screens. We've got wireless charging. We've got what else? What else do we have here? That's
like a Toby Keith song. We've got OLED.
We got wireless charging. We got good old fashioned buttons going away. So is this the thing that brings back the acceleration? Does Apple even need the acceleration of iPhone sales?
I think Apple would like
sure,
acceleration in their iPhone sales. It obviously is kind of the big chief engine for them, and it is a mature enough platform at this point that they have to start thinking about, well, where does this go? We've had an amazing 10-year run. What does the next 10-year look like? Not only for the iPhone, but also for this space. Because part of the reason why they have lost a little bit of steam in terms of their growth is just the fact that the market has really caught up with them. The Android handsets that were a little janky in the beginning have long since come to maturity. Google has wised up and realized that they got to make their own hardware, either in direct communication with the manufacturer or all by their lonesome, to make sure that the best experience gets into their consumers' hands. So for Apple, you got to look back, and I'm sure that there are very, very smart people down there in Cupertino that are looking back at the history of the iPhone and seeing, well, what has moved the needle for us in the past? What can we do now that will make people say, well, I got to get this one? Sure, I just bought one last year, but this one is the best. Got to get on it immediately. What triggered that in the past when people were on a little bit of a tighter refresh cycle?
Because it used to be form factor change, function addition. That was form factor change in a number, function addition in an S. And the 7 has been the first one where they didn't change the form factor on that cycle. It's basically the same form factor as the 6 and the 6S. It added water resistance. It took away the headphone jack, which I don't think people see as a huge benefit mostly. It added that cool rear dual camera. But the 7 was the first time where we're like, this one isn't that much different.
And even then, the word around the campfire was, which is why I think that you're even further in the right to call these leaks and not rumors, that this new one coming out this year was going to be the big change. That if 7 underwhelms you, don't worry, because this everything changes next year.
Yeah. And some of the rumors are 3 different sizes. There's rumors of a $1,000 price point, unsubsidized. Those are a little less reliable, but goes along with the general trend of big changes.
So let's take a look in the past, based on what we are able to find in terms of iPhone sales. It looks as if the biggest jump was in Q1 12. a Q1 being their iPhone quarter, basically.
Yeah, it's the fiscal Q1 starts in October, so it's the Q1 for Apple is always the holiday quarter.
Yeah, and that was a huge jump for them. And that was 2012, the iPhone 5, the first time that they did the Lightning connector, and it was the second one with Siri, which means Siri was better.
Yeah, and it was the longer display. Finally, they changed the size. It was a bigger screen. And this is still in the era where people were making fun of the Note for having such a ridiculous large screen, not for its battery.
No. And certainly 2 years before, Apple decided to revolutionize the game by doing a gigantic Plus version, which came 2 years later with the iPhone 6 and 6 Plus in 2014. So at this point now, and granted, don't cry for me, Argentina, when it comes to Apple, because now their sales have seemingly topped out a bit at 74 billion per holiday quarter, with 78 this most.
So they jumped up to this in the 70s in Q1 2015, largely because of more international sales, Chinese sales, etc. And then they've edged up since then over the past 2 years.
Do you think that this gooses them even further? That this is that what? Well, here, let me ask you this: edge to edge glass, no physical buttons, and let's imagine that the Touch ID is something that is absolutely mega easy to use and super cool and better than any other biorecognition thing. Let's just, for the sake of argument, let's just say
sure.
Or at least say that that's how it's going to be sold. Do you think that makes things move further, or is this just a world in which every phone that comes out from every provider does something super amazing?
Yeah.
And at this point, things have hardened into no, I'm an Android person or I'm an iOS person, and I'm just going to buy the cool hotness, and Apple people will buy the cool new Apple thing, and those who ain't won't.
There's a few ways to come about this. First of all, acknowledge that Apple never does something for the first time. Yes, Android phones have had virtual buttons and wireless charging for quite a long time. That's always the way. That's not really a knock. That doesn't actually affect iPhone sales, that Android has done something first. No. So I'm going to discount that, because that's going to be the first Android fan response is like, well, that's not new. That doesn't really matter to people who buy iPhones. What matters is, do I need to replace the iPhone I have? So there's two questions. Will you get people to upgrade faster? Will you get people who just bought the 7 or even the 6S to say, you know what, I need this new iPhone in large enough numbers to make a difference? And then there's a separate question of, is this a phone that pulls people over from Android to say, wow, that's really pretty. That's a nice implementation. I know I could get that in Android, but I really like that for one reason. Let me answer that second question of my own first. No, I don't think any of this does that. There may be some software functions that will do this, and I may be wrong when we find out more details, but from what we're hearing here, I don't think this is so compelling that it's going to sway a ton of Android people over. The reality distortion effect of the big hoopla on the 10th anniversary might, but not the specs themselves. On the other hand, folks in the iPhone universe, this does look like something where you're saying, and I've been saying since the 5, there's no reason to upgrade if you still get what you need out of the iPhone you have. Every year, it's not enough of an upgrade. I'm questioning that this time around. I look at this and I'm like, OLED plus wireless charging is pretty compelling, and the virtual buttons could go either way. It could ruin the experience and change my mind against it, or it could make things much better, because I was pretty skeptical about the 7's virtual home button. And it shocks me every time I turn the thing off and I press the button and it doesn't feel like it got pushed down, because that haptic feedback works really well.
Yeah, I think that's really that's the biggest thing that makes me think that an edge-to-edge display will be something very special for this new phone, is that that haptic feedback is just, they are just on another level with that. So my general philosophy is to not bet against Apple when they feel like they really want to push something, because They're good at pushing the stuff that is incremental. They're good at making us think that force touch is going to be a revolutionary new way to interact with your phone, and that they are indeed brave for eliminating the headphone jack and all of its cumbersome legacy problems. If they really have something that is special, that looks great, and I'm sure I can just see the ads now as it seamlessly shifts from the iPhone that you've known and loved with a new flashy OS that is more productive than ever, to with that gorgeous OLED edge-to-edge display. Now it is the best way to view movies, the best way to play games on the larger form factor. It is like nothing you've ever seen. It is this glowing infinity stone in your hands. I think that this could be something that is markedly different than what we have seen out of the iPhone since the 5.
And man, KV87 just nailed it in the chat room. Make that thing wireless charging and USB-C. Just ditch Lightning. I know they won't do it, but that might put it over the top, especially now that you've gone USB-C on the laptop.
Yeah, but the problem is, like, at this point, that would actually annoy me as a Lightning person, because like all I got is Lightning cords. I am flush with them. So I swear to God, do not make me buy another cord or another dongle.
Thanks to everybody who participates in our subreddit. You can submit stories and vote on them at dailytechnewsshow.reddit.com. Let's get to some emails here. Dave writes in regarding Mark's idea about having a separate password that would wipe your device. So if someone compels you to give their password, you'd enter this password and it would wipe the device. Dave says, I've heard of other apps that do this sort of thing, and here's one of them at ghacks.net. It's a tool called Privacy Look that has added disk wiping as an option. So it does a bunch of other things. It's a privacy protector for your Android phone, but it adds the ability to set up a password that would maybe just wipe out the contacts or the call log or the memory of the device entirely. So these kinds of tools do exist on Android if you want to use them. But then Jason from New York City said, hey, in response to Mark's suggestion that cell phones implement a kill password to wipe your device, if you're prompted to unlock the device by authorities, and if your goal in using such a feature is to avoid hassles and delays at customs, I think wiping your phone would just cause more delay. A customs agent who wants to inspect your phone but instead finds a wiped device will likely raise their suspicions and lead to additional screenings and delays, more so than if you simply refuse to allow your device to be searched. While I could see value for this type of feature in, say, a robbery scenario, customs probably isn't the best place to use it.
I tend to agree, especially if you are in especially. I know this is like the big.
Look, see, he listens.
Especially if you are in a situation where that becomes a real problem. I think that there is a line between good hygiene or a political unease at people being able to rifle through your stuff by way of their governmental power. But if what we're looking at is an easier way to get through customs, I don't think just providing, oh, here, officer, and they're like, well, this looks blank, nothing shady going on, please go on in, Mr. Blank Phone.
I like Roger's idea of have an image of your phone that you put on before you even go to the airport that has a limited number of things. So it doesn't look suspicious, but it just doesn't have a lot of your data. And then you restore the previous image of the phone after. If you're really concerned about it, that's probably the best way to go about it.
I agree.
What do we got next?
Oh, regarding Microsoft having the Xbox announcement at E3 on a Sunday, Brian writes, while other companies haven't said when their own conferences are scheduled, this seems to be a signal that they might have announcements that would be contingent on a Scorpio unveiling. That is to say that Bethesda, who usually has their conference on a Sunday night, might benefit from being able to fully talk about Scorpio.
Yeah, Microsoft usually likes to do theirs later so they can drift in on others' announcements, especially Sony, right? So this is them saying, you know what? Sony already came out with their 4K box. We're not worried about that. What we want is all the game makers to be talking about how great their games are going to be on Project Scorpio.
And it's really smart because this way they can make sure that they control the narrative of E3. Because if everybody goes and talks about, well, hey, and look how it looks on Scorpio, and that's just the de facto 45-minute point of any and all demonstrations going forward throughout the conference, that is good for Xbox.
And whatever, it's not going to be called Project Scorpio. It's going to be called Xbox One 4K or the Xbox 4 1K, or it's going to have a different name, and they're going to want that name to be pounded into your brain by the rest of the video game.
Although
companies.
I hope it's Hank Scorpio from The Simpsons.
Jamie in It's Raining, but at least the snow's finally melting, Vancouver, writes, I was listening to your conversation with Scott about Chime. Chime is Amazon's new video conferencing service, and the potential for it to be a viable replacement to Skype. I've been listening to various podcasts for years, and every single one of them tries to use Skype for talking to guests and listeners. In most cases, especially with Scott on his various Frog Pants shows, Skype is extremely unreliable. New updates come out and render seemingly trivial tasks inoperable, like being able to add a person to a call or hanging up on a call. And it seems like in 2016, there should be a more robust solution for podcasters like you, Tom, and Justin, and all the other people I listen to every day. Every time I hear a new announcement for a possible Skype replacement, I always think of you guys and your constant hardships with Skype and its many limitations. I love all these shows and look forward to the day when a better solution is in play and there are no longer stupid Skype moments every day. Thanks for letting me rant.
Well, I mean, you are preaching to the choir so much.
Yeah, we are literally singing,
clapping our hands and chanting hallelujah. But here's the problem with Skype, man. It's so good, it sucks. It's been the standard of reliability for so long that they really let the train move them by in terms of doing any kind of real wholesale retooling of their underlying tech. There's a great chapter in the Plex, the book about Google, where Google was very, 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 very close to acquiring Skype. And ultimately, they made the decision to not do it because they would never be able to fully integrate it because of the way that their tech worked. They would have had to just either keep it a separate thing like Microsoft effectively has, or just staple it onto something else without any real integration. This is the reason why Skype's unreliable. Unfortunately, it's kind of like a highway at this point. You can't just fix the highway that runs through the center of Austin, Texas, despite the fact that everybody who gets stuck in traffic, that's all they would want, is just instantly for 2 more lanes to be on either side and everybody's commute to get cut down. But at the same time, everybody's on the highway bitching about it. So you can't just tear it down to rebuild it. It is just the ultimate catch-22.
Yeah. And granted, this show, we use Hangouts. And the reason, I mean, what Justin's talking about there is Skype, use Skype because you know everybody else uses Skype. So when you say, hey, I'm going to call you on Skype, people know what you mean. And they generally have it. Hangouts we use because it allows for auto switching, which is really fun and makes things easier. And also you can just send people a link, and usually that works as well. That's about it. There's hardly anything else video-wise that is as reliable. I know we just said it's unreliable, but there are other options out there that are even less reliable and makes it easy to get people on. So
if even just because, okay, download this program. It's called Chime. Now give it permission for your microphone. Now give it permission. I can't see myself. Well, you have to go into settings and then go into video and then find, I can't see myself. Now just go to Logitech. Like this is, you do not want to do that every time that you have a guest on. You just want it to be able to work, and Skype just works until it doesn't, and it makes you want to throw yourself through a plate glass window.
Well, thank you, Justin Robert Young. I'm very glad that you've not, as none of us have, thrown ourselves through a plate glass window in frustration at Skype or Hangouts. But you do still continue to host a ton of podcasts, which is great.
I certainly do. Everybody can go ahead and check them out. Of course, probably the biggest one now is Politics, Politics, Politics. If you enjoy or don't enjoy politics, I think now is a time where so many people are talking about it. It is obviously at the tip of everybody's tongue, and we do our best job to take a look at it in, I don't want to say objective or neutral, just from my point of view, which is very, very wary of overcommitting or having the narrative sort of wag the dog. And that is where we are at with politics. You can find it on the iTunes store, everywhere that fine podcasts are sold. And actually, one more thing, thecontender.us, we have the social card game about where you debate with your friends in a presidential style television debate. We have our first mini expansion of 2017 going up on sale this Friday, all called and spun from the Hamilton the musical. We inspired by Hamilton the musical.
Nice.
Not only have the real quotes from the people that lived the life that eventually inspired the big Hamilton musical, and as a bonus, I believe we are going to do a Bowling Green Massacre card, so you will be able to work that into your Contender games. So go ahead and check it out, thecontender.us. That'll go on sale on Friday.
Hey, thanks to everybody who supports this show. I just sent out our Thursday newsletter with a report card on how Gartner has done forecasting consumer electronics over the last few years. If you'd like to check that out, just back us for $5 a month. Or if you already back us for $5 a month, just look on Patreon or look in your email, and you can read that and a new column and news recap every week. Our email address is feedback@dailytechnewsshow.com. We're live Monday through Friday, 4:30 p.m. Eastern, alphageekradio.com and diamondclub.tv. And our website is dailytechnewsshow.com. Back tomorrow to talk about the RSA conference with David Spark. Talk to you then.
This show is part of the Frog Pants Network. Get more at frogpants.com.
Diamond Club hopes you have enjoyed this program.
I got to replace that wire, I think.
Yes. Got to replace that wire.
The Wire. It's my 5-season series about dealing with this particular patch cord.
Which could be easily replaced for like $8 or $7. So titles, can you hear me?
Yeah, we can.
Cool. I bless the internet down in Africa. It's a riff on the Toto song, Toto, who, by the way, also wrote a song for Michael Jackson. What's it? Human Nature.
Oh.
If you ever, they actually do they do a cover of it, like the original demo of it, and it sounds really bad compared to Michael Jackson. Apple does things and stuff. Tinder love. For Apple's next trick, they will make Touch ID disappear. Apple knows the way to San Jose. Also a riff on the song by Dionne Warwick. Samsung story about Samsung Group chief blows up. Tinder spins that wheel, W-E-E-L.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not sure if he just misspelt it or if he was being something I'm not understanding.
Probably
about
just
it.
a typo.
Okay. Facebooked in. Skype is a highway. Do you want to write it all night long?
Skype is a highway.
It's the only song I know from that guy. Tom Cochran or whatever. Samsung bounces back. It stays bounced. A lot of Tinder stuff. Tinder creation. Wheel of Tinder. Apple grapples with their appeal. We got good old-fashioned buttons going away. Don't cry for me. Apple Teeny.
Jackie Hearn's like, no mention of Pilot X now that they're rolling out today, because all the Inkshares backers are getting their books now. I actually haven't seen a physical copy of it, by the way. But I will mention Pilot X finally on Daily Tech News Show when it hits shelves on March 14th, when people can actually just show up in a bookstore and find it.
Woohoo! I bless the internet down in Africa's tops. Apple does things and stuff. Second.
I don't know. None of them are really knocking me out today. Not to say they're bad. Maybe I'm just uninspirable.
We'll let Justin pick.
No.
Justin won't like it. He hates everything.
Yeah, especially these titles.
I think you're going to make one listener very happy that you did that today.
I think it'll be the biggest time I get email based on this show, because there's a steady drumbeat of people being mad at me for saying especially. I just
saw the one recently. I didn't know it was a drum beat.
Oh no, it comes all from all over, all podcasts. People, I talk a lot, man.
Yeah, you know,
I always tell
give
him,
the guy a break.
I understand it. I'm not saying you're wrong. I'm just saying I do a lot of stuff, man.
Yeah, what's the one? There's one that I always get heck for. Oh, coupled instead of coupled.
Coupled, yes. Yeah, I don't know why you say coupled.
I don't know where it
Coupland?
comes from either. It's in my head I hear my dad saying it.
Coupled.
Coupled.
Yeah. To couple things together. And I
Like
not
couple.
when I'm saying couple, when I'm talking about two things, I say couple, but when it involves like, you know, coupling a train or something like train cars.
Coupling.
Oh man. I kind of like FacedIn would probably be the most the safest choice.
Mm-hmm.
I kind of wish there was a way to do the I blessed the internet down in Africa that didn't come off as like
Condescending.
Yeah, it's a great Toto play.
yeah.
It doesn't really work with the story though.
Well, and also it's like headlines or the titles are always like, all right, it's in my feed. Do I listen to Daily Tech News Show today? This is the snap judgment. Like, does that make sense? Like, FacedIn is like, oh, did LinkedIn merge with Facebook? I don't know. Are they fighting? What's going on? I would say FacedIn. FacedIn is my choice.
All right. FacedIn.
FacedIn, done.
Sourdough bowls of clam chowder for everyone.
Hey.
All right, guys. I'm going to wrap it up.
All right.
I will talk to you guys later. As always, a pleasure.
Absolutely. A pleasure, as they say in Southern Illinois.
Scott Johnson tells me his dad said it. A pleasure.
Yeah.
Talk to you later. Bye.
All right,
Bye.
cheers. TextJeb doesn't like the way I say a wow either.
A wow.
Does that bother you?
I don't even know what that word is.
A wow. AWHILE.
AWH. Oh, a while?
Yeah. A wow. Now I'm just driving TextJeb crazy by
It's
repeating.
funny. My old roommate used to pronounce insidious as insidious. Insidious. Like, what?
Oh, great. Now Stoic Squirrel's like giving suggestions. Cool Whip.
Cool whip. Whip. You know, that's just because of Stewie on Family Guy. Whip.
Whip.
The whole whale whipped. Whipped cream. Whip. Wash. Well, you say wash.
I don't say Warsh.
Wash.
I used to. When I was growing up, I said Washington and Warsh. I say wash now. Been able to train myself on some of these things, but a wow apparently is not one of them.
Yeah.
Couple. I'm really gonna. That's where I'm gonna put my energies, because that one doesn't make any sense. I tried to defend it. I'm like, it's a regionalism. It's an accent. Nobody else in Greenville says couple. I don't know where that came from. The Rhine and spine falls mainly on the pine. Oh, it was Zoe's like, don't get me started on nougat. That's a U.S. versus
Australia.
England, Australia thing.
Nougat.
That is definitely a regional thing. We all say nougat here. That's just the way it's said.
Nougat.
That's like, I remember when I went to Australia and they had ads for Nissan cars, and it just bugged me.
Well, no, what's weird is because Nissan in the U.S. is the maker of those instant cup of noodles. And so when I heard Nissan ads, I was expecting, it's like, why do you have a payment plan for a bowl of noodles? And then that's the other one that bugs me that Brits and Australians and Kiwis do, actually South Africans do, is Mazda as Mazda.
Mazda. That one doesn't bother me for some reason.
Because it's technically the guy's name or one of them.
Well, did I get this one a lot? Beatmaster says nougat is a French word, so they should know nougat. But we don't pronounce all borrowed French words in a French accent. We don't say the exception.
No, but we do say filet. Like some we do, some we don't. You're right. Like we were in the supermarket in Australia. We were I was looking at it. It's like,
Fillet.
yeah, look at the steak fillets. It's like someone said fillets. I said, what the? I looked at my girlfriend and I said, what the hell's a fillet?
Kebab. I do like saying
Kebab.
kebab instead of kebab.
I like kebab better than kebab.
I mean, kebab is closer to the original. But here's the other thing. There is a point where trying to pronounce something exactly the same as its originating language is silly.
Like Roger, Rutger. There's like, it's Germanic.
Yeah.
And there's 3 different, it's like Roger, Rutger, like
I'll tell you,
Rutger.
because a lot of people are like, Xiaomi is not exactly right, Tom. And I'm like, it won't be. I'm getting it roughly correct because I'm speaking English. If I was speaking Chinese, I would try to nail it.
Speaking Mandarin, you mean?
Mandarin, yeah. Is it Mandarin for Xiaomi? Is that? I guess it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Cantonese would still say Xiaomi, though.
Yeah.
Would they pronounce it differently, though?
They might. Like.
And then would that be wrong because it's a Mandarin name?
If you're a Mandarin speaker, yeah.
But that's what I mean.
This is one of those things that spans the entire stream of human existence.
Definitely.
I'm sure people back in Roman era, in the Roman times, are saying that's not the way you pronounce it in Latin. Although, did they call it Latin back in the day? Like, did they?
I don't know that I've ever known the answer to that. That's a great question.
I'm very curious now that I think about it. Like,
what
you
did
were
Romans?
saying,
Did they call it Roman?
Romanese.
Hmm.
Oh, here's a here. Oh, sorry. Yeah. I was going to put in a little fun fact that I remember someone said, like, why weren't you called like you have a Englishman, an Irishman, Scotsman.
Oh, right. Yeah.
But like
Frenchman.
But like when you get to the Far East, Japanese, Chinese. I mean, you can say
Chinaman is usually considered to be derogatory.
Yeah. And no one says, I mean, Nippon man is valid in certain cases, but I think it's because the way I understand it's because the way the people that the Europeans that bumped into those areas first were the Portuguese, and that's kind of how their enunciation.
Oh, okay.
Kind of influenced the way it was pronounced over the years.
What about the German?
The Germans. Well, there was no Germanic country or Germany, right?
Yeah.
It wasn't.
It's not a word in German.
Yeah.
It's Allemand, right? Or sorry,
countryman or something.
That's Spanish. It's Deutschland.
Yeah. So, just imagine if someone else got to name all those places. Rusland.
Men of germs.
Germs.
I call myself an Usan, a United States of American.
Usan.
USA. From USA. I actually started thinking that way when I took Russian because in Russia, in Russian, the initials of U, S, and A are S, Sh, A. So when they say USA, they just say Sha. They just run it. I'm like, oh, well, we should just say USA.
Yeah, but the USA
is going to catch on, do you?
It's an initial, right? It's not a.
Well, no, yeah, but they're basically pronouncing the initials, which we do. We do that a lot.
Yeah. Well, yeah, but like for example, there's a difference between
like NORAD.
There's a whole thing between initialization and acronyms.
Yeah.
So
we could treat USA as an acronym and call it USA.
Then we would.
Ted says it sounds too Jar Jar. He doesn't like it.
Well, you can know what's the other one that people do.
But it was so handy because you didn't have to do the whole Amerikansky thing. You just say Vishaye, just quick, done.
Acronym versus
you knew exactly which American country you meant too.
Like NASA.
NASA. Oh, look, this guy just joined the chat room. I was talking about you earlier.
This guy. Laser. There's an acronym.
Yeah.
Which is
Welcome
weird because
to USA.
the land of enchantment. Wait, what is the land of enchantment?
That's New Mexico.
Yeah. Welcome to New USA, the land of enchantment.
New USA. Noosa.
There's a New Mexico.
Oh man, I had a friend who grew up in New Mexico, and quite often she would have to get in fights with people from catalogs who would tell her, "Oh, we don't ship to Mexico."
It's like it's New Mexico.
She's like, yeah, we don't ship to any part of Mexico. She'd be like, "It's in the United States. It's a state in the United States."
Took me forever to figure out that there was no New England state. New England's a region.
Really? Yeah.
You know, like when you're a kid. Oh, I'm going to go to New England.
All right, we are done for the day. Thank you all for hanging out with us. We appreciate your support, and we will do it again tomorrow when we'll talk about ARSA conference.
ARSA.